Good morning, everyone. My name is Pam Ingram, and I'm with Hennepin County, Minnesota. And I'm presenting today with Paul Taylor, with Gideon Taylor, and a little plug for them. They helped us get over the hurdle, and we'll talk about that here in the presentation. So this is really about helping our citizens be able to do online payment for services with Hennepin County. And so we call it Hennepin County Introduces Self-Service for Residents. So like I said, I'm Pam. I'm an IT manager. I manage a finance functional team of about 9 people. I've been with the county for 31 years, but actually in the PeopleSoft world, I've only been here for about 6 years. I love the outdoors. I love all seasons in Minnesota and my home up in northern Minnesota right now, close to the Boundary Waters. Paul, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm the founder and CEO at Gideon Taylor. Been doing PeopleSoft longer than some people on this call probably have been alive. And I love making things work and letting the computer do the work and let people do higher level, more important things. And as it says, I tend to break into song without warning, but poetry is also likely, dad jokes even more likely. And I was curious, Pam, what is the body of water behind you there?
That would be Bear Island Lake. You can look that up. It's the lake we live on.
Very nice.
Yes.
The body of water behind me is the Dead Sea.
Oh.
A little bit lower elevation than Bear Island.
Well, there you go. All right.
All right.
With that, let me tell you a little bit about Hennepin County. We're the most populated county in the state of Minnesota. We have about 1.1 million residents, and then we have about 9,200 employees. That building that I'm showing there is our main government center located in the city of Minneapolis. But as with everyone with COVID, there's not too many people in that building at this moment. We're focused on courts happening in that building now, and most of us are remote. So with that, our footprint, just quickly, we're on Tools 857.21. You can see we have both finance, HCM, ELM, portal. We use the GTE framework. We have fire change management. We have AppSy security. Excuse me?
No, es que se pone directamente tras de ti.
Okay. AppSy security. And we are going live with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure here in a little over a week. So what was the business problem? And I'm just going to talk quickly about that. So our service centers during COVID were shut down. They wanted a way to be able to still provide services online and allow for online payment. And so we were given direction at that point. What can we do for them? We did not have e-billing up and running yet. And so we had to do that as well as work through their business process, which over time we realized was a little bit more complicated than just create an invoice and go with it. So the goals of this project have a broader view. We were looking at implementing e-billing already, and then the service center jumped in front of other people and we had to solve their business issue. So basically we were looking, as far as goals, was to be able to review and securely pay those invoices online, that anyone would be able to look at their payments online. We needed our service provider to be PCI compliant. We wanted to make sure we, of course, used PeopleSoft for the accounting transactions and the ability for that to be our source system, our source record. Timing and accuracy are key here for us. We wanted to make sure that this system would work for our existing PeopleSoft invoice users as well as new customers to PeopleSoft. And so Here for the service centers, they had not used our billing system prior to us helping them with this solution. I will tell you, this is probably one of the most complex projects we had to engage in at this point in my career, because it required, the PeopleSoft is supported by the Office of Budget and Finance. In a separate department, the IT department is in charge of all of our security and infrastructure, firewalls and everything. We needed to abide by their rules and their products. And so here we are, an Oracle database, an Oracle product, trying to use Microsoft Azure B2C. We're trying to be PCI compliant with Paymentus, using Paymentus, which is not a preferred vendor of Oracle. We are using Appian Security. We're using Gideon Taylor with the form and the information consumption and having it come in. So in the meantime, during all of that, we're in the process of moving to the Oracle Cloud. So there you go. But it worked out. So just know that this can happen and has happened. So like I said, the service centers, which are distributed throughout our county, were shut down. And so they were only doing mail-in documents for a while. Now they've opened up to having some appointments as well. But there were 3 forms, high-volume forms they wanted us to focus on. It's the vehicle tab renewal, duplicate registrations, and our DNR renewals. So out with the old, in with the new. The old was these web forms were coming into an email inbox, and the staff would have to pull them out of a group email, review the form, and then wait for the check to come and match it up. And like we said, we have many different buildings that these people were working out of, so we never knew if the check was going to which place that the person was located at. So it was not a good situation for efficiency at all. So what did we do? What improvements did we bring? Well, we've brought approval workflow. We've brought the ability for the history to be able to track who touched the form, when they did, when was payment made, when were the tabs mailed out. The viewing the status of a form from a customer perspective and from the service center employee perspective. Being able to track conversations going back and forth with the customer. And then also the online payment is easily tracked. This is a list of the business process flow. The slide deck is attached to the agenda item here. I'm going to step you through this in the live demo. This is more or less for you for reference, but it's going to show the back and forth between customer and service center. So let me talk a little bit about what did we do in the system. So we use the delivered e-billing homepage. We added the tile, the supply or submit update requests. We also took the help tile and created a custom one, and you'll see what we did with that. And we removed a few of the extra tiles that are delivered. We wanted to make it as simple as possible going out of the gate. We may reintroduce some of those other tiles, but we just wanted to point people quite clearly what they needed to do. And that's mostly because we don't want the phone calls to be happening. We also, once you clicked into that submit forms, we created our own homepage that has tiles for vehicles and for snowmobiles, put some cute icons on there. And this is where we get into the form, the intake of the information. You can also see that we're using the frameworks that Oracle provides, the nav collection. This was huge for us. So whenever someone lands on this page, they're going to get right away the information they need to have in order to move forward. They're also going to be able to get help. We created videos guides for them. They're able to email, and so the business area, if you click on that email, it's going to launch their email browser and auto-populate the business area's email address. And they actually have a chat, a way to chat with them, and that will link you to their chat. So don't be confused. This isn't Picasso chat. This is linking them to a Hennepin County already chat service. And then you can get into the tab renewal and the duplicate title. This is where the Gideon Taylor forms come into play. So just looking at the form, I just want to highlight that once you create your contact, once you sign in, that information is going to carry forward with you and be stored in your customer and contact information. We don't store the date of birth or the driver's license. That just has to be re-inputted every time. And that was purposeful, by the way. The person is able to update their contact information and have a different email address. And as you can see, it's important to attach notices. If they have them, they can do it. If they don't, I'll show in the demo what happens there. And this is just the second page of the form. I want to highlight that we want to clearly state that they are going to bear the cost of the credit debit card fee. And if they pay by e-check, actually Hennepin County will absorb that fee. We have these acknowledgement sliders, which are great because then it gets them to acknowledge, which is something that they need to do according to the state guidelines. And then they submit. We have this comment field available as well. Workflow was very important as a part of this process, and basically,
before you jump in, there was a question in the comments about whether the chat history was saved inside of PeopleSoft.
Yeah, I can show you. It goes in that comments, and then the comment history does get saved. Yep. Thanks for asking that. So as far as workflow approval, because the state has a variable pricing structure, you're going to see that it's up to the employee to look up a table in the state system to figure out what the right price is. Otherwise, normally we would have used a charge code and a fixed table that would have said, choose this and it's going to be this price. But this allows for that variable pricing that we had to go through. Hopefully this is the most complicated example we'll have going forward with other departments. But it does track who's doing what work easily, and it tracks the status of the form. And so for the service center employee, they're going to be able to come in here. We have a grid that shows whether a billing specialist has been assigned or not, the status of that form, and you can see the date it was submitted. This is just a slide example. When I'm in the product, I'll show you a little bit more around that. It's really simple for the employee. They just assign the form to themselves and which office they're in, because they need to be able to track the tabs that need to be mailed out. So for inventory purposes, they can view the attachment, and you're going to be able to see date time stamps on the very last page of the form. And when the customer makes payment, they're just going to come in, and I'll show this in the demo, but it's just the regular payment cart process. And they then are sent out to Paymentus. So we redirect them out of PeopleSoft. We do not store any of that information. And it's at this point that Paymentus will take payment, and you can see at the top of the screen where we have, if they have any concerns or need help, they can easily contact Paymentus. So with that, after they make that payment, throughout this whole process, and I'll show you in the demo, they're getting emailed with at status points, invoice is ready for them to pay. It's time, the payment was made and they got a receipt that payment was made. I put this in for reference for the finance people so that they know on the back end side, things have to happen in batch jobs, and the way we have set things up, we've done it on every hour and every half hour. So an invoice gets created every hour. As forms are approved, they'll get an invoice. They're ready for that invoice, single action invoice job. AR update then runs to bring it into the receivables. Journal generator is run so that the GL entry is made. Once a payment is made, there's the process e-payments job that runs on the half hour at the bottom of the hour. AR update runs again, journal generator runs. And with each one of these processes, we have a custom GT job running in with them to update the status of those forms. So, and then of course, we can't forget about the bank reconciliation process. So we have a merchant ID set up. We know that right now it's going to be coming through a semi-manual reconciliation. The one thing I want to point out for anyone that's going to be using e-billing is every transaction will come in as its own deposit ID. So every payment made is its own deposit ID. So you on the back end, you have to figure out how you're going to do the easiest way to get that reconciliation to work. It's usually done based on reference. That's probably not going to happen, so you might have to do it by day. And like I said, this is actually going live in a little more than a week. So we will be able to tell you if our solution works or not on the reconciliation side. There's always the way to manually do it, but that's not the ideal situation, of course. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into our demo, and I'm going to bring that on over. I'm going to sign in as the customer. And this is what I'm talking about right now. Here we're actually in Azure B2C, and we're using Appian in the background to help us. Oh, sorry. Of course, the dog's going to bark during this. So here we are getting logged into our stage system.
I was just excited about getting into a PeopleSoft system from an external user account. So, and me too.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So this was definitely a requirement to have an external facing portal. We needed to have security wrapped around it. And so this is our solution. Paul's going to talk about their solution a little bit later in the presentation. So as I come in here, I'm just going to go ahead and come in and show you what these forms look like. I'm just going to submit a tab renewal form and show you how easy that is to do. I'm going to put in some very fake numbers, and my 1, 2, 3 fingers really like to work. Like I said, I could go to this slider. I can come to this slider and have a different mailing address in both situations. I'm just going to go ahead and show you what it looks like with yes. The minimal fields that need to be populated are when you say attach notice, which I like. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. They can actually submit more than one. And for this one, I'm just going to show you no. And what happens now, all of a sudden I have to actually type in more information. This would be on the form if they decided to attach it. And I'm just going to put that in. There's edits that we have in certain fields, which we're allowed to do in the form design. All of this, I believe I saw Ashley was on. She helped our team get this information, get these forms up and running based on the business requirements. So thank you, Ashley. We have the fees highlighted here very clearly. E-check is free. So I'm just going to go ahead and upload that file where I need to. And then I'm just going to go ahead and acknowledge. And I'm just going to say, just go ahead and say submit. So at this point, I've submitted my form and I should be able to come over here. And there the email just came in with notification that my form has been submitted. So I'll just get rid of that real quick. And I'm actually got a few different browsers going here. Let me grab. I'm just going to go ahead and sign out. We'll just make it easier. I'm going to log in now as the Service Center person. So as I log in, okay. That didn't work. Sorry about that.
Try Control A and then delete.
You gotta go find my right person. I thought I held it there. I must have done too many other things in between.
No problem. I'm always overriding my clipboard. Get something stuck and do it a different way.
So I'm actually logging in as a Service Center person. And as I do this, she is going to go look and find that she has online application forms homepage that we created. And the purpose of that was anyone in Hennepin County, any business area that's going to need to have forms, we will put those tiles on this homepage. Most likely they will only see one unless they have multiple applications that they're responsible for, but makes it pretty easy. And I love the whole homepage tile, the way it works so nicely. So there are 19 items out here. What I want to point out is you're able to easily sort in the grid. So I'm going to bring up the most recent one, and the way they can tell this is by billing specialist. So I could have gone ahead and sorted on billing specialist and see all those that are in the front part of the business process. No one has taken them yet. Billing specialist hasn't been assigned, so this is the first place they would want to grab and go with processing a form. Most likely their business process will be the older form, I'm hoping. That's what
Pam,
they choose to do.
you had a question in the chat of how is the employee notified that there is a new form?
We aren't doing notifications. That's a good question, actually. A part of their business process is coming out here and being responsible. So there's supposed to be a group of people solely responsible for online. So this is something that they're in all the time. We chose not to put them on work lists or to have email notifications. That was a business requirement. So I just want to point that out. Great question, though.
Yeah, so you can have in GTE Forms, you can have email notifications, you can integrate with the work list, you can integrate with fluid approvals tile. There are a bunch of ways that you can get notifications that there is work for you to do. But a lot of high volume service center customers, like the group that Pam's talking about here, don't want those notifications, just exactly as Pam said, because they're in it all the time. They don't want to have pings saying you got another one, you got another one. This is where they live and this is the work that they do. So they just run off of lists like this.
Exactly. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick up that form. And I am logged in as Robin Meadows. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab that. And they work at the Brookdale Service Center. And you can see all of this has been is not editable by that person. So that keeps it fixed and we know exactly what happened. You can see that there are two items being requested. And this segment opens up now because of their role. The security role allows them to see this part of the form, and they're going to come in and say, okay, well, I know that this is a motor vehicle short form, and I've just looked up on the state site, and I know that this is going to cost them $145. And this particular vehicle is older, and it's only $35. Now, part of the business process was if they decided that the information that they received is incomplete, they would be able to recycle it and send it back to the customer. And we loaded it with common reasons why we send things back. And so you can see those here. And you can always use the other. But in this case, I'm not going to send it back. I'm just going to let it go through the most happy path. And as you can see down below, the comment, thanks for doing this process quickly. I went ahead and put that in there. And here I can say, and with that, I'm going to acknowledge. So now you can see the date timestamp. You can see it was initiated by me and that Robin, it only took Robin 6 minutes, and the time frame of everything. So 11:08 to 11:15, all on the same day. So I'm just going to go ahead and go back to the home page here. Now, what will happen is an invoice job will run, like I said. So I'm just going to go find a different invoice as the customer to pay, so you can see that part of the process. So the other tiles that we have available to us is I can just look at all the invoices, but I know I want to come in and make a payment. And I'm just going to go ahead and point a few things out here. So as a part of the business process, they have a 3-day, you need to pay in 3 days. If you don't, your invoice goes away. So what we have set up is after 1 day, it'll show as past due. And so that's why you're seeing the dollar amounts the way you are. I'm just going to go ahead and come out here and just select an invoice to pay. I can pay one, I can pay two, I can pay three of them. I'm just going to go ahead and say pay. This is all built into e-billing, the payment cart. So this is a configuration setup that we did. We did default the payment method to online payment. It populates this information automatically. We just go through the train stop. It now has made the payment not editable, and we're just going to go ahead and submit that payment. Now I'll see what happens here is I just got redirected out to Paymentus. So we went ahead and I'm just going to fill that out. It auto-populates their email address, and it locked the dollar amount. We did not want them, PeopleSoft having $1 amount in it, and then Paymentus having a different dollar amount. We locked it so it has to pay that amount. So those are things that you would want to work with your payment processor on. And in this situation, we can just enter in the fake credit card. Don't worry, it's not real. We also didn't pre-populate this as part of the business requirement that someone else may want to pay on behalf of somebody. So we let that be free text and editable. And as you can see, what happens here is the payment is free fee. There's a fee is clearly stated. That was, we don't want to have anyone question why they're being charged. So you go ahead and confirm payment. And now you can see that it's been accepted. We have programmed the back to home to go back to our Hennepin County homepage. If I come back in to the email now, you are going to find, nope, not that one. My payment has been made, and you can see my confirmation has been received. So as you can see, you'll see all these emails in this inbox, but we have them coming here for invoice notification. After an invoice is created, they'll get one. You see it after payment is made. They get that from Paymentus. You get it when they submit. So those are kind of the touch points or action points for the customer in this particular situation for these forms. And like I said, we have 3 different forms out there. I am now, hold it, yeah, okay. I'm going to go back in as the employee now, because once payment has been made, now it's time for them to give them their stickers. So they've priced it, they come back into their forms, and now they're able to look at the status of payment received. And all they need to do here is know that the payment has been received. The business process is for them to go to the state site. They enter their information into the state site. They tear off the tab, and they are now going to mail that. And so this is a confirmation that I have completed it in the state system, and I acknowledge that I'm closing out the transaction. So the employee does that, hits acknowledge, and now you can see the history of everything going through. for this particular form. This was one that I had started earlier this morning. So you can see where the employee or the customer submitted, the employee approved it, the system picked it up, did its batch processing, and then it was finalized and authorized then by Robin. And that is basically the beauty of forms, e-billing, being able to process payments online for our citizens. So with that, do we have any questions on the demo portion of this out there?
I just want to give you kudos for having such a successful live demo. Woohoo!
All right, I see, Dave, what does the process for creating a new account look like? Let me go there. I will show you. When I'm come to this screen, I can just say sign up now. I should be able to say sign up now. Hold on. This would be the part of the live demo I don't want to fail. I got to get logged out. Try this again. All right, so I should be able to sign up now. And all you have to do is put in your email address. And when you do that, you hit send verification. And I can show you an email will come.
And that's the part that's being handled by Azure B2C, correct?
Correct. So what will happen when you first do that is you'll get a verify your code, and you'll just put that code into, once you say send verification, it'll come back and say put your code in here. And then all you have to do is put in your password, your first name and your last name, and hit create. And it's as simple as that with this product.
And then behind the scenes, that is creating a PeopleSoft user ID, correct?
It's creating a contact, a customer contact. So first, yes, ultimately a contact and a customer, and a user ID is in the background, but they never really know what their user ID is. Right. We do everything based upon their email ID here.
So they, as far as they know, their security is based on, or their identity is what they have set up here in Azure. As far as PeopleSoft is concerned, Azure is logging them in with a distinct user ID into PeopleSoft. So they have their own PeopleSoft user ID, but they don't know what it is.
Correct.
So that and that allows GTE Forms to keep track of when they take individual actions. We're signing that based on their PeopleSoft user ID and password. Then you just had another question from Dominique. Yes. Let's see.
Does your system look for existing email addresses? Yes. So let's just see what happens here. So if I were to do this, it should have known that I existed already. That was a bad example. Let me think about this. I can create a new password. Let's see what happens. Let me just pull up my email. I can change my password on the fly. Let's see what it's doing here.
Thanks a lot, Monique. You broke it.
Right, no, I thought we had already tested this. So. Yeah, there you go. Thank goodness. This user exists already. So yes, it did know it. I was questioning why it didn't stop it earlier, but it does eventually stop it. Thankfully. There you go. No problem. Dominique. It was a great question.
Yeah, way to go.
So
Dominique's a good tester. She probably
right.
someone you want on your team.
Can I hop in on that real quick?
Yeah.
Just to add that, I believe when we were doing research on it, that was a conscious decision to wait for the email. We were very concerned about email phishing. So we weren't trying to capture anybody's email until they verified. So even though it's a little extra bit of a process, if they actually got that email verification, it truly is their email. And at that point, we feel comfortable letting them know, hey, that is a valid email. So at least we're not giving away email, since as Pam had said, that is their tracking this entire process. So we really wanted to protect those as much as possible.
Thanks, Ashley.
Ashley is on the Gideon Taylor team, and it's Ashley Tutera. We have multiple Ashleys. All of them are awesome, but Ashley Tutera is the original. So
yes. Hi, Ashley. So just to wrap up my part of this, some lesson learned that we had with this project. I'll tell you, we had daily stand-ups, which were critical, just to make sure that we were moving forward, because we stalled in certain places, and we realized we needed to just have people meeting every day for 15 minutes. The amount of work in the project timeline was completely underestimated. The complex project that required a lot of coordination, we underestimated that. We didn't realize what some of the security requirements were going to be, and everything that entailed. Documentation of configuration is very critical. What migrates, what doesn't migrate through this, and who needs to do what. Our business processes, migrating those Gideon Taylor forms, and we have a developer that is responsible for those. The security took a lot more time than we ever expected. And then just coordinating with our payment processor. They sold it as a very simple, but it was not simple for us. And once we figured out how things needed to happen there, we're over that hump. But taking that part into the project, that extended our timeline. And like I said, working with multiple vendors throughout this was a good test of why you have a project manager involved. So we had a project manager. I'd highly encourage anyone to do that. So with that, I'm going to give it to Paul.
Very good. Thank you. I'll just throw in a comment on Pam's lessons learned. Anytime that you are doing something new with security, extending PeopleSoft to a new constituency, especially an outside constituency, one of the challenges you run into is getting buy-in from all of the people who are responsible for protecting the system. And so that's a good thing. It is important to if that's one thing that we've learned with a number of clients who are doing external involving external participants, is getting that buy-in across the security architecture, across the team, is a significant investment and does take a lot of consensus building. So one of the solutions I'll mention here, I won't name names, but we knew the way that we wanted to do it, and we knew how long it would take us to configure that if they let us configure it, and it was just a few hours. But we ended up spending about 3 times more than our estimate just in meetings trying to build consensus that we could do it that way. So you've got when you have a lot of players involved, that just be aware that can be difficult. But I don't know if Pam has mentioned, this is a groundbreaking path-cutting process, and they have lots of other processes that they want to run similarly to this. And now that all of that work has been done and the infrastructure is in place as far as security and the way to get these external participants into the process, it really opens up the door for lots of other things to happen much more readily, because a lot of that wouldn't have to be redeveloped again. A lot of that consensus and that procedure is now in place, and now they have a platform to build on. Okay, so just a few thoughts about external participants in general. What we've seen is over the past couple of years, we've had a real surge in interest in people involving external participants in PeopleSoft processes. Here at Hennepin County, it was citizens. We want to be able to allow citizens to get in and interact with us in PeopleSoft and end up making a payment through PeopleSoft-based processes, and getting a PeopleSoft invoice and getting an invoice out of PeopleSoft, making a payment that's going to end up in e-billing. So that's one approach. There are many, many other requirements, many, many other places where you want to involve external participants, and almost all of the almost everything that I think probably every one that we've done that we've helped people do is different than the next. And Hennepin County's is different than many other clients that we've worked with. And that's fine. It's okay. So I'm just going to mention a few tools that between PeopleSoft and we at Gideon Taylor that can be helpful to accomplish that. One is PeopleSoft's public portal technology. Now, Hennepin County's approach, they ended up creating an EmployD behind the scenes, as we mentioned, so that they didn't need to be in a public portal. They could be authenticated directly, but you can accomplish external participant-facing business processes by using PeopleSoft's public portal technology. And that's something that's available in every PeopleSoft product. You can stand up a portal that allows you to show PeopleSoft content to the guest user. And in HCM, it's often used for their talent acquisition manager product, so that people can get in and look at jobs. Someone can just go to a website and say, I want to see jobs available at your organization, and they can go in and look, and they're looking as a guest user. And if they end up submitting private information, they actually, very similar to what Hennepin County did, they get registered and authenticated based on their email. They set a password, but they're actually still logged in as a guest user. They're still on the public portal. You get the same sort of behavior with supplier portal on FSCM. So this is a common PeopleSoft practice, and you can use it for your own custom processes that you want to extend to external participants. GTE Forms, you saw some of the pages that you saw in Pam's demo are GTE Forms. That is a configuration-based form builder that we provide that makes it simple to put fields on pages without technical people being involved. This was the form pages that you saw were put together by Pam's team and by Ashley, who's a functional analyst, and so there wasn't tech involved in putting fields to pages there. And you can also add all sorts of configuration-based edits, logic, lookups, dynamic behavior, like the segment on the form that Pam that only certain people could see. All that kind of stuff is in there in our robust form-based solution. One of the other features in GTE Forms that can come into play in external participant solutions is our GT token framework that allows us to generate tokens that can be sent out into the wild, and we'll talk about that in a minute, that can facilitate secure access by external participants. I'll go ahead and let's hit the next slide. So let's look at Public Portal for a minute here. So obviously, sometimes when you say Public Portal, that can bring out the scaries, and you say, "Oh no, I don't want to make anything public." A public portal is actually a way to protect information. It's a way to make sure that you don't expose anything that you don't want to be out there, and to isolate all your secure stuff from the public user. So you want to be able to provide that public content. You don't want to expose anything that you don't want to. You don't want to open either a back door so that authenticated people can get in without going through authentication. You want them to need to go through that. So you don't want to be mixing and matching secure and public permissions, and you don't want to make a headache for the people who are keeping your system safe. Next slide. So a public portal allows you to present the PeopleSoft content without requiring authentication. It allows you to engage with user populations who don't have authentication. In this case, we're talking about citizens, but that can be applicants, onboarding people, vendors, parents, all sorts of populations that you might want to involve. And you can do business process workflow to those participants. So you can send them emails, you can get approvals from them, you can interact with them without having to authenticate them if you're not ready to yet. So there's a lot of, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. I'll just mention you can, using that portal technology, there are many layers of customization that you can do in the way that people access PeopleSoft content to isolate your secure content from your public content. And all of this is stuff, if anyone has, I'm going to mute Todd there, sorry. If anyone has questions about that, we have resources guiding you through how to set up a public portal and to customize all of these things so that you can get that security and not worry about exposing your secure content. So GTE Forms is, like I said, a configuration-based form tool that lets you do all sorts of things like pre-populate the data, like you saw with Pam's form. We can pull information in from PeopleSoft to pre-populate forms. You can get conditional behavior that lets you have the form be dynamic and unfold naturally to the users. You can restrict valid values, use real-time edits. You saw the attachment management that was involved there. We had a layer of configurable routing on top of PeopleSoft's AWE routing, and you have access to all of PeopleSoft's security, reporting, all sorts of things. We've been able to accomplish some amazing results with these forms for for our clients. So this actually becomes, the form then becomes how you reach out to those external participants, and usually you're shuttling data from them into a delivered component that, like e-billing, so or like the voucher. So we're able to kind of be this process where we get a custom front end that can reach out to people. We have workflow and approval processing while that to get that data curated, and then we're able to put it automatically into the system and save the dual entry of people retyping that information. Okay, and this is just a lot of wonderful goodness about GTE Forms. Come see us at our booth if you'd like to learn more about it. Also, we'll be doing in about 3 minutes here, I'm going to be doing an eForms in a Flash little mini session at our booth, 20 minutes. It's and we'll give you an idea of how easy it is to build these forms. One more. So the tokens are actually, this is a generated string. It's not really a Bitcoin, but just for visualization here, a Bitcoin really isn't a Bitcoin either. So I felt it was appropriate. It's also a string of data, but this is a long unique identifier that we can associate with secure information inside of PeopleSoft. Then we send the token out in an email. And this usually gets involved, and it was not involved in Pam's implementation because it works best for an invite-based system where we're saying, okay, I've got someone on the inside, I want to send an invitation to someone outside to participate in this process. So I send them an email, it's got this link in there that the link has this token, and that's going to let them in. That token is going to identify what transaction they're participating in. We'll go ahead and hit the next slide. So we can set that up inside, and then we have a token listener that knows how to handle things when it knows where to take someone when they follow that token into the system. I'm going to go ahead and just take a minute on the, actually, let's go ahead and click past this. And past this, I just want to, since we're in our last minute here, I just want to show you this slide, some real world external participant solutions. You'll see that about 5 of these use the token approach. They include supplier contact registration with Prologis. UC Berkeley's graduate committee approvals process was really cool, where we automatically generated a login similar to Pam's. They have their own login, but they don't know what it is. They don't have to know what it is. We log them in directly based on the token. So if they've got the token, then they can get back into their system, and we can get signatures from committee participants who don't have user IDs. And we've got faculty onboarding, where we're gathering personal information in a secure way that really improved Princeton's onboarding process for visiting faculty. We've got email-based approvals. We'll be doing a session on that later today, so that you can actually approve eForms without logging into PeopleSoft. That uses the token technology as well. And employee onboarding, where we are actually able to assist people in getting into the system. They can start filling out forms before they have an employee ID and before they have their employee OPER ID either. So lots of ways that we can involve external participants. It's always a lot of thinking. It's always a lot of cross-team cooperation to make it happen, but lots of power, lots of extended punch from your PeopleSoft system. And with that, I'm sorry, Pam, I have to run and do that session, but Thank you all very much. You did a great job, Pam. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Feel free to come visit us with questions, and Ashley can help with questions too.
Yeah, so I didn't know if anyone had any other questions. I just put my contact information up here. Feel free to email me with any other questions you might have. Yeah, you're welcome, Dominique. So with that, I don't know if anyone has anything else. Otherwise, we can wrap it up. Thanks for attending today. Really appreciate you taking the time.